And we already have a crowd here. So we have about 16 people. Thank you everyone for joining. I'm gonna pass it over to Nick, Darius, and Tina, and they're gonna take the show on the road. Thanks everybody.
All right, thank you, Kenny, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you guys and gals to the Fawcett Avenue Project's public update meeting for the South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue Improvements Project, which is being managed by Darius, and the adjacent Revitalizing Tacoma's Brewery District project, which is being managed by myself. As we settle in, I'll introduce myself and the other presenters we have with us today, as well as review some housekeeping items, including how best to participate in the virtual update meeting today. So, like I said, my name is Nick Carell, and I am the City of Tacoma's project manager on the Revitalizing Tacoma's Brewery District project. My colleague, Darius Thompson, is the City of Tacoma's project manager on the South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue Improvements project. So today we're going to share a number of slides with you that will provide an overview of both of these projects and identify some of the larger pieces of construction and how those will affect the city and traffic and parking in the area. Finally, we do have some other members of our respective project teams who are available to come online and provide further details when needed. So for all of our backup presenters here, I'm going to kind of introduce you guys. And if you want to briefly pop on your cameras and wave to everyone so we can see your faces, that would be appreciated. So for any questions regarding utility work on these projects, we have Olivia Matheson and Krista Lee, who are going to be available from the City of Tacoma's Environmental Services Department. Hello, Olivia and Krista. Thank you for joining us. We have Troy Sagafi and Ali Polda from the Tacoma Water. Thank you, Troy and Ali. And we have Greg Hordisky from Tacoma Power as well. Thank you, Greg. So for any questions regarding roadway or signal work on these projects that we're going to discuss, we have Raymond Vanderoost, who is the engineer for both of these projects. He will be available from the City of Tacoma's Public Works Department. And we also have Chris Norberg from the Traffic Engineering Division as well. Hello, Chris, and thank you, Chris and Raymond, for being involved. All right, so just a few housekeeping items. So I'm about to start the presentation, but before I do, I want to let all the participants know that, again, your audio and video are on mute. So us presenters, we cannot hear or see any of you. However, we are here to answer your questions today. So if you have a question about the project, you can click the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. And your question will be sent to Tina Dunn, who is also from the City of Tacoma Public Works Department. And she will be reading your questions to the team, to Darius and myself and the other backup panelists during the Q&A portion of this event, which is after the presentation. Like Kenny mentioned, if you are on your phone, you can email Tina Dunn with any questions, and she can hopefully relay those during the Q&A portion of this event. So if you called in and are only listening on your phone, also please feel free to go to the project website at cityoftacoma.org/Fawcett Ave, and you can submit questions to, again, email after the presentation as well. Also note, this virtual meeting is being recorded, and the video and a summary of all the questions and answers will be posted to the respective project websites. This will likely occur sometime over the coming week. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we're going to begin the presentation for our projects. So give me 1 minute and you will see my screen pop up. There we go. All right. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm going to go through this presentation, and again, we're going to follow up this presentation with a Q&A session. So this is the Fawcett Avenue Project's public update meeting, September 8th. Here you can see the staff I've just introduced with the respective projects. So we have my project, Revitalizing Tacoma's Brewery District on the left. And then we have Darius's project, South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue improvements on the right. And you can see that Raymond is the engineer for both projects. And we also have Tacoma Water, Environmental Services, and Tacoma Power involved in both of these projects. So, presentation overview. So first, after this slide, I'm going to hand it off to Darius, and he's going to talk about his South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue project. He's going to go through the project schedule and budget with you. And then he's going to go into detail about the project scope and what is actually going to be constructed as part of this project. Then I'm going to take the reins back from Darius, and I'm going to go through my Revitalizing Tacoma's Brewery District project. Again, I'm going to go through the project schedule and budget as well as the scope. And then lastly, we have some slides to discuss what to expect during construction as far as communication from us in the city and the contractor, maintaining access and potential parking disruptions along the corridor. And then lastly, of course, we're going to end with our Q&A session, which Tina will ask. So with that being said, I'm going to pass this off to Darius, and he's going to talk to you about his project. And Darius, feel free to just let me know when you need a slide advanced.
Yes, thanks, Nick, for that introduction. Once again, my name is Darius Thompson. I am the project manager for the South 21st and Fawcett Avenue project. As you can see on the screen now, this is kind of like the vicinity map for the project that I will be managing. We have a Hawk Beacon installation at South 21st and Fawcett, and my project stop and start point on South 21st is between Tacoma Avenue and Jefferson Avenue, and my stop and start point on Fawcett Avenue is South 21st to 19th. Next slide. Here we're going to discuss the schedule and budget. This project was completed design this past winter. Advertisement for this project was in February 2021. Construction will start later part of this month, September 2021. The budget for this project, the project estimated costs, including staff charges, is about $7.417572 million. As you can see, the funding partnerships that we are working together collectively on this project. We have a federal grant, we have city funding, private contributions, and also the utility contributions from our utilities, Environmental Service Department, Tacoma Power, and also Tacoma Water. Here I'll be discussing the project scope. As mentioned earlier in previous slides, we will construct a Hawk Beacon and a median refuge island at the South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue intersection. We also will have a new concrete roadway along South 21st Street between Jefferson and Tacoma Avenues. We will also repave Fawcett Avenue between South 21st and South 19th Street. We also will have installation of traffic calming measures along Fawcett Avenue. Next slide. As we continue with the scope, we will have the construction of new illumination on Fawcett between South 21st and South 19th, and also on South 21st Street between Jefferson and Tacoma Avenues. We will construct a new sidewalk on both sides of the street on Fawcett between South 21st and South 19th. And we also would do sidewalk on the north side of South 21st from Tacoma Avenue to Jefferson Avenue. ADA ramp improvements at the intersections below. We will do ramps at all four corners on South 21st and Jefferson, South 21st and Fawcett, and also South 21st and Tacoma Avenue. Next slide. As we continue on with utility work, Tacoma Water main replacement along South 21st Street between Tacoma Avenue and Jefferson Avenue, and along Fawcett Avenue between South 21st and 19th Street. We also will have a environmental services sanitary main and storm replacement along South 21st Street between Tacoma Avenue and Jefferson Avenue, along Fawcett between South 21st and 19th Street. ES will also be constructing a 350-foot sanitary main along Court East starting at South 21st Street. And we also have Tacoma Power and duct bank installation along South 21st from Court E to Court D, and along Fawcett Avenue from South 21st to 19th Street. And that will conclude pretty much the project scope of what I will be doing for the South 21st and Fawcett Avenue improvement project. Back to you, Nick.
Great, thank you, Darius. So again, for anyone who has specific questions for Darius about his project, you can use that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and hopefully we can answer. Darius can answer those questions at the end during the Q&A session. So now I'm going to go ahead and talk about my project, which is adjacent to Darius's project, also mainly along Fawcett Avenue. So showing now is a vicinity map of the project with a couple key points highlighted. So you can see the magenta pink circles on the map indicate where we're going to be upgrading traffic signals along the route. The cyan blue circles show where we're going to be installing raised mid-block crossings for pedestrians. And then you can see that we're also installing a hawk beacon signal at the 19th and Fawcett Avenue intersection. All right. So I want to go over schedule and budget first. So design was completed on this project in June of 2021. It then proceeded into the advertisement and award phase, and that is projected to last through October of 2021, so next month. And then construction is anticipated to begin in November of 2021 and lasting all the way through July of 2022, pending weather delays and things like that. For the budget on this project, the estimated total project cost is $7,244,800. Just like the adjacent Fawcett project, we also have a number of funding sources. So we do have a federal grant funding for this project totaling $2.3 million. We have city funding for the project totaling $2.8 million. And then we also have utility contributions from environmental services, sanitary and stormwater, Tacoma Power, and Tacoma Water, all together totaling $2 million. So now I'm going to go into the scope of the project, so what's actually being constructed on the project, and describe the details for you. So this project is mainly focused on pedestrian improvements and bicycle facilities, as well as signal upgrades. So as you can see, we're doing a number of pedestrian improvements. That ranges from curb extensions for traffic calming at most of the intersections. So this is where we're actually going to be bulbing out the sidewalk into the intersections to allow for safer and shorter pedestrian crossings. We will be installing 2 raised mid-block crossings. So these are crossings that are in the middle of a block and are not at an intersection. And they will be raised to match the height of the sidewalk. They'll also be installed with beacons so that traffic will know when they are being utilized. Curb ramps are going to be upgraded to ADA compliance, of course, throughout the entire corridor. And we are installing a number of bicycle facilities. So dedicated stripe bicycle lane will be striped along South 15th Street from Yakima Ave all the way down to Fawcett Ave. And this connects a number of existing bike trails along our bicycle network and brings them into the dedicated bicycle boulevard that is Fawcett Avenue. And due to Fawcett Avenue being a dedicated bicycle boulevard, we will have striped sharrows along the whole corridor to indicate that. And since this is going to be a pedestrian and bicycle heavy roadway, we are going to repave almost the entire roadway. So Fawcett Avenue all the way from 19th Street to 6th Avenue will be repaved with smooth new pavement for bicyclists. And then at the concrete intersections, we will replace the panels as needed, depending on their current condition. So going along with the pedestrian and bicycle improvements are numerous signal improvements along this project. So bicycle detection and other signal improvements such as timing and things related to that nature will be improved at all of these signalized intersections along the corridor. So that would be 6th Avenue in Fawcett, 9th in Fawcett, 11th in Fawcett, 13th in Fawcett, and finally 15th in Fawcett. Along with these bicycle detection and signal upgrades, we'll have push button upgrades to match ADA standards as well. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be installing a hawk beacon at the South 19th Street and Fawcett Avenue intersection. So this, for those of you who are unfamiliar with that, this is a beacon that only operates by pedestrian activation, and it will light up the beacons and allow pedestrians to cross safely, and then traffic can resume normally otherwise and won't be impacted by it unless a pedestrian is using it. And lastly, we do have quite a bit of utility work on this project, kind of continuing along from Darius's adjacent project. So Tacoma Water will be replacing an existing water main along Fawcett Avenue for the whole corridor from 19th all the way down to 6th. A sanitary main will be replaced by environmental services along Fawcett Avenue for approximately 1 block. Tacoma Power is going to be installing power vaults and associated duct banks along Fawcett Avenue from 19th to 17th. And then we'll also take a short turn along 17th to the east towards Court D. And then lastly, miscellaneous stormwater improvements will be made along the entire corridor to support the other roadway and signal construction work. All right, so that concludes the details about my project. Next, I'd like to talk to you about what you can expect during construction for both projects. And what I'm saying here basically applies to both projects equally. So what can you expect during construction? So communication is a big one. We do want to communicate with the public, residences and businesses alike due to the location of these projects. So we will continue to distribute notification postcards for major milestones or major changes during construction. And something important to note here, our project websites will be updated accordingly. So that often is a quicker way to be updated if you have access to them, is to watch those project websites for any updates that will be posted on there. And then of course, the contractor will notify residences and businesses 48 hours in advance at a minimum for upcoming work that might disrupt them in some way. But we do want to make sure we maintain access at all times. So of course, you know, these construction projects are a balancing act. So temporary traffic control provisions, we need to balance those with the construction needs, the construction timeline, and disruptions to all modes of traffic, whether that be pedestrian, bicycle, or vehicular. But the contractor and the city will do everything we can to maintain business and residential access at all times. Lastly, what to expect regarding parking. So Fawcett Avenue is a parking heavy corridor with on-street parking almost the entire length of the project. So many times throughout the project, you will see no parking signs that will be placed at least 48 hours prior to going into effect. This parking availability will be impacted pretty much along the entire corridor, depending on what phase the construction is in. However, some of the major interruptions will be when the utility work is taking place and when the paving is taking place, especially because lanes likely will have to be closed down and there will be a lot of equipment that will need to be out there on the roadway. So keep that in mind, that near the beginning and end of these projects will probably be the heaviest impact of parking, but there could be no parking signs throughout the entire corridor at various points during the project. So to conclude, we have the website and contact information here. So at the top of your page, you'll see the Revitalizing Tacoma's Brewery District project. The website that you can go to get more information and get updates is cityoftacoma.org/Fawcett BD. That's Bravo Delta. Fawcett Bravo Delta. And you can see my contact information there. And then below, you'll see South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue project. That website is cityoftacoma.org/Fawcett Ave. And then you see Darius's contact information there. So outside of this presentation and Q&A session, please feel free to reach out to Darius or myself with any questions you have about the project or concerns, and we can either answer them or get you in touch with the right person. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tina, and we're going to be starting the Q&A portion of the meeting. So we are going to start with some questions that we received prior to this event that were submitted through email to either myself or Darius. And then we will obviously go into any of the questions we received during this presentation. Also, please feel free to continue using that Q&A button while we answer these questions if you have something that comes up, and we will do our best to answer those in the time we have available. So we do have over 30 minutes now. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tina, and she will start reading the questions.
Thank you, Nick and Darius. So I want to repeat my email address for those that are on the phone. If you have email capability and want to submit a question, first initial, last name, so TDUNN@cityoftacoma.org. Feel free to send email with your questions, and I'll be able to get those submitted as well. So our first question, Nick and Darius, is what are the planned upgrades for this intersection? For example, repavement, traffic circle, upgrade from yellow traffic lights to green, yellow, red traffic lights. The intersection they're referring to is Fawcett and 6th Avenue.
Okay, great. So for that question, I'm going to ask Chris Norberg to come online, and he can go detail the signal improvements to that intersection for us.
Thanks for the question. 6th Ave and Fawcett will still be a stop-controlled intersection with the traffic improvements. What we're doing is upgrading the existing beacons over the intersection to a larger size so that they'll be more visible. We are also doing some bulb outs on the southwest corner to decrease pedestrian crossing distance, both across Fawcett and 6th Ave at that intersection.
Great, thank you, Chris.
And then the next thing to that is, can you explain a little more what you mean by traffic light upgrade?
Yeah, so assuming this is a general question just for kind of the entire corridor, the main focus of these traffic signal upgrades are centered around bicycle detection. So that is a major feature at the 4 main intersections, so 15th, 13th, 11th, and 9th. And then as Chris just mentioned, we are just upgrading the existing flashing beacons at the 6th Avenue intersection. And then as I mentioned in my presentation, we have the big upgrade of the Hawk beacon installation at the South 19th Street and Fawcett Avenue intersection, as well as on Darius's project, the South 21st Street and Fawcett Avenue intersection. So those are by far the biggest upgrades that you'll see to the traffic signals at these intersections. But then, of course, we are doing some pedestrian focused upgrades with regards to push buttons and traffic signal timing and things like that.
Thank you. Next question, I'm going to assume that this is referring to 6th and Fawcett as well. They're asking if you would consider doing a noise study at this intersection. There's a few parts to this. Many construction and transport trucks and cars with malfunctioning mufflers struggle at 6th Street Hill from Market and 6th to Fawcett. Then they have trouble continuing on up to Tacoma Ave 6th after the yellow traffic light at Fawcett and 6th. This intersection is also a frequent turning point for fire engine number 1 located on Fawcett. Trucks to access 6th Ave and result in loud horns as they transverse the intersection. Necessary, but adds to the collective noise level.
Yeah, that is definitely a concern and a notable concern. I can say that a noise study is not part of the scope of this project due to the grant funding. We did not receive funding to complete a noise study anywhere along this corridor. But I will say that that is something that potentially that the traffic division could consider looking into, and definitely we can take that that information and submit it their way, and hopefully gain some traction in doing something like that in the future. And Darius or Chris, if you have anything to add to that, feel free to hop in there.
Next one is, what is the estimate type lifespan of the surface? My street just got finished. Not sure what the street they're referring to, but maybe you can speak to the lifespan of the surface streets when they get repaved.
Yeah, that's a great question. So definitely we don't, our intention is not to rip up any pavement that has already recently been repaved, because they do have quite long lifespans. As far as specific lifespans go, it will depend on exactly what surface treatment we're doing. So for almost the entire length of the Fawcett Avenue project, we are doing a grind and overlay. So that's where we remove the top layer of pavement and repave with a brand new layer. For some areas, though, we will be doing what's called a full depth restoration, which actually does go down into the subgrade and repairs the subgrade of the road to strengthen it and make it proper for proper paving on top. And then even in some areas as well, we will be installing what's called fiber mesh into the roadway, which further increases the expected lifeline or lifetime of these roadways. And we are doing that on certain parts of this project. So I don't have a specific number for you as far as the expected length in years or anything like that. But you can expect this to easily last, at least a decade without needing any major repairs. And then even longer potentially for the areas that are getting the full depth restoration and the fiber mesh inserts.
Thank you, Nick. Has the ongoing construction of the new apartment complex at Fawcett between 15th and 17th been accounted for in the planned improvement upgrades?
Yes, we've been working with a number of private developers along this entire corridor. So the apartments between 15th and 17th is one, and then there are a number of others both at other corners of the 15th Street intersection as well as the 13th Street intersection that we've been in contact with, and we have adjusted our designs to ensure that when they finish their sidewalk and frontage improvements, that they will not only not have to redo anything that we've done, but that will match up correctly with the designs we've put in place.
Thank you. Darius, I think this one is for your portion of the project. Will the 21st to 19th Street project be making 21st the major arterial for vehicular traffic to get to Tacoma Avenue? If so, will there be reduced measures on 19th Street?
As of right now, I will probably have to turn it over to Chris Norberg on that, as in regards to making South 21st an arterial. And as of right now, we're not planning on any traffic calming on 19th and Jefferson. Chris, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, thanks, Darius. With this project, no, we're not making any changes to prioritize 21st over 19th for traffic. I think ultimately 19th, with some other projects, we really don't have any plans to change the function of 19th much. It's still a major arterial that cuts across a large portion of the town. There's no ongoing plans to try and bring more traffic to 21st Street. We do have some other projects that will make some changes to 21st, but nothing that is really trying to reduce the amount of traffic on either 19th or 21st Street. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. I have more of a statement than a question that came in. The one area that was not highlighted is the reference to street lighting. I would encourage your placement of Oriental light standards. The fixtures installed on Stadium Way, Upper Broadway, and St. Helens Avenue are the complement to the area, and moreover, serve the area with a strong nighttime presence. Your office has introduced many improvements to our downtown area. For that, I am encouraged and thank your staff for the contribution. Looking forward to increased improvements in physical growth. Private investment will follow attractive forward development cities.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that comment. And yeah, something like ornamental street lighting is definitely something that the city would probably look to do in a future project along this corridor. Unfortunately, that wasn't included in the grant scope of work for this project, but definitely could be something that the Streetlight Division could look to do in the future.
So far, we haven't received any additional questions coming in yet. So if anybody else has anything else on their mind, please feel free to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, and I'll just take this time while we are waiting for any other further questions to come in, just kind of reiterate a couple of the key points of the project here. So just remember that it's a balancing act during this construction, and we definitely want to maintain communication with everyone along the corridor, especially businesses and residences along the corridor. So please, watch the project website for updates, and please feel free to reach out to Darius or myself at any point during the project with concerns, and we can make sure that those get addressed throughout the project.
I have another statement here, if I can read this, regarding bike lanes. A person wrote in, they're excited about the pending improvements to Fawcett to help better serve as bike corridor. They couldn't attend today's meeting. This was previously sent in. They had a couple of concerns about some scary moments they had on a corridor because of the cars coming east-west on the steep hill side. There's one intersection where vehicles on Fawcett right away, but it's not clear. Cars know this, and it's worrisome to intersection without being extremely cautious. Indeed, this is where I've had my closest cars doing rolling stops. Then there is a four-way stop where often cars disregard the bikes are allowed to go like a car. Finally, there's an intersection where cars solidly have the right of way and are traveling very fast on a hill with limited sightlines in both directions. It's very hard for bikes to have confidence to go. So the second, a car could appear going at speed.
Yes, those are definitely very valid concerns, and ones that the city shares for this corridor as well, especially on the steep slopes and limited sight lines like you mentioned. You know, I will say that a big part of this project is focused on traffic calming and bicycle safety due to this project, you know, being on a bicycle boulevard like Fawcett Avenue, and a number of these project scope features are aimed at specifically reducing those concerns with the public and bicycle and pedestrian traffic. So we think that the curb extensions that allow for shorter crossing distances will help alleviate some of the pedestrians' concerns there, as well as hopefully force traffic to drive slower throughout those intersections and along the corridor. The raised mid-block crossings will force vehicular traffic to slow down and watch out for pedestrians and bicyclists. And then lastly, you know, some of the biggest upgrades we're doing with the signals are bicycle detection, which will allow bicyclists to hopefully be more easily recognized by traffic and stuff like that, so they can feel safer crossing those intersections. Chris, feel free to add to that if you like, if you have other thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I mean, a big part of this project was to improve Fawcett for bike safety, make it better for pedestrians, try and reduce speeds on Fawcett. So there are things in the project like the hawk beacons at 19th and 21st will really help with bikes getting through those intersections. We've also added diverters at 19th and 21st Street to try and reduce the amount of traffic that tries to travel on Fawcett through the corridor, try and get them over to, you know, Tacoma or Market, some of the more major streets through the area. And then, you know, 6th Ave, we're increasing the size of the stop beacons to improve the visibility and hopefully count to a higher rate of compliance with those stop signs at those intersections.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. That well said. Thank you.
Thank you. Got a few additional questions coming in. I got 2 come in through my email, so thank you. Will drawings be available on the project websites?
Darius, I don't know, maybe if you can speak to that. Generally, we do not post, you know, full engineering drawings directly on the website, mainly due to a lot of times the size and complexity of those plan sets. But certainly, if people have specific questions about you know, specific locations along the project, we can definitely share plans and designs for those locations to help and answer any questions that people may have.
The other question that came in is a traffic light slated at 6th and Fawcett to replace the 4-way flashing stop.
So I think Chris touched on this question earlier. So the intersection at 6th and Fawcett, we will not be putting a full traffic signal in there with red, green, and yellow lights or anything like that. What we are doing at that intersection is upgrading the existing flashing beacons to the current standards and safety and stuff like that. Chris, feel free to expand on that if I didn't cover it correctly, but the short answer is no, we're not adding a full signal. We're just upgrading the existing beacons.
Thank you. Is it possible to see a more detailed calendar of project activity, perhaps month by month?
Yes, that is something that we can definitely share as we get into construction. It's something that we can, and we will post on the project websites and give a bit of a more detailed breakdown of when certain construction activities are happening. That's not something we have at the moment. We don't have that information at the moment. So once construction will start, we can get that information from the contractor and share that information with the public.
And Nick, I would like to add to that. I believe that question maybe came from Ben. I believe Ben, you're from UW, University of Tacoma. So yes, if you would like to receive monthly updates on the project, feel free to shoot me your email address. I believe it is in the chat as of right now, and we can add you, at least I can add you to the list for the Fawcett improvement updates. I'm sure Nick will do the same. And
Yeah.
if there's anything in particular we need to discuss, we'll be able to meet you out in the field, set up another virtual call or whatnot to kind of get those questions or concerns answered.
Thank you. The email was just received again. She sent a clarifying question regarding the drawings up to the websites. She asked, will schematic drawings be available?
Schematic drawings, Darius, I'm gonna kind of ask for your help on this one. On previous projects, do we generally share those directly on the public website or more on an individually needed basis?
In my experience, I don't think we've ever had them on the actual project website, but as if, folks want to send us emails and want to know particularly what's happening, like you said, stated earlier at this intersection, we'll be happy to send that plan sheet over to you. As far as any type of rendering or concepts, that wasn't made for this project update meeting, and I don't have any for my project, and I'm not sure, Nick, if you have any related to your project as well.
Yeah, I think Darius answered that question well. So I would say that we would probably continue to provide those schematics or plans or concepts on a case-by-case basis to individuals rather than posting them just on the public website. And a part of that reason is because, even out throughout construction, sometimes the plan sheets and schematics and stuff like that can change, and we don't want to have people having outdated copies of that information and having questions about that. It's just easier to do it on a case-by-case basis so we can answer anyone's concerns more directly.
Thank you, both of you. We have another question, and Darius, maybe you can start off with this one. Will construction start at 21st and work towards 6th? Once portions are completed, will they be reopened to traffic and parking?
You're muted, Darius.
While this is two separate projects with two different contractors, we will have two different schedules when it comes down to sequencing, work and things of that nature. So in regards to my project, I will be, once we get the project schedule from our contractor, we will be updating the folks with kind of like the updated schedule of the businesses that's in and surrounding the South 21st and Fawcett project. And then me and Nick could potentially coordinate how we see fit the contractor, working on South 21st and getting all the utilities in, and then how his project will start, and we can kind of have kind of a bigger schedule for folks if they need to see how the corridor is going to be built. But as of right now, Nick is still in the process of awarding and getting his contract started, and me, I'm getting ready to start here in the next couple of weeks. So as he gets prepared to start construction, me and Nick can coordinate together and get some type of schedule put out to the businesses and residents in this area to kind of give them a full picture of what the construction will look like for this corridor. It could be that Nick's contractor start at 6 and work their way down to South 21st or South 19th, I'm sorry, or vice versa. But we can be in conversation with each other to see how we can see fit putting a schedule together and getting that out to people.
Yeah, exactly, Darius. And like Darius said, we'll know more as we get started with construction. A lot of that will depend on the contractor's means and methods. The city doesn't necessarily dictate exactly how the contractors should build the project. It's really up to them and how they want to mobilize their labor and their equipment and stuff like that. What I can say is while certain aspects of this scope of work might be more of a linear progression, like starting from one end of the project and moving their way down, for example, paving, for example, I do anticipate the contractors might want to do a lot of things concurrently at different areas along the corridor. So for example, while they start the utility work at 19th and continually work towards 6th Avenue, they might be doing some of the signal work down on the other end of the project where they can be out of the way of the utility work. So just keep that in mind that, some of this stuff might be linear, but a lot of things probably will be happening concurrently. But with all of that being said, certainly once portions are completed and once the equipment is out of the way and the contractor doesn't need that space anymore, we will certainly open it up back to parking and full lanes of travel and everything like that as soon as we possibly can, just to minimize any impacts to residences or businesses.
Thank you, Darius and Nick. So far, that is all we have received for statements and questions. So if anybody has anything else that they'd like to add.
Yeah, so at this time, I'd like to open, if any of our utility partners have any information that they would like to add and address to the public, just about any of the work that they're doing, feel free to join in and give that information out. Otherwise, we can continue. We still have approximately 10 minutes, so we can wait for additional questions. And of course, you can always direct questions to Darius and myself after this meeting has concluded, and we can answer them individually. So with that being said, if anyone from Tacoma Water, Tacoma Power, or Environmental Services has any additional information to share, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, we can see if we have any other questions come in. And if anyone has any specific questions for the utility partners, as far as if water services will be impacted or things like that, feel free to direct those questions to Darius and myself, and we can get those questions to the specific people at those departments to answer those questions for you. So Darius and myself will be your points of contact for all of those kind of questions as well.
We have one that came in.
Okay.
Will work on Court E include any upgrades to the road surface?
Darius, I believe that's
yours. Yes, that is mine. And yes, we will be repaving that road up to the length of installation of that sanitary main. So yes, we will upgrade the roadway there.
Okay, so if we don't have anything else, maybe we can give people 10 minutes back on their lunch break.
Yeah, I think that is a good idea, Tina. So Tina, thank you for reading all of those questions for us. And thank you everyone for joining us today. So we're coming to a close now. And I want to, again, thank you everyone for participating and asking questions and just being here to receive this update. Again, just to kind of reiterate one more time, you can always visit the websites to view the recording of this webinar or just view updates on the projects or get our contact information to ask us questions. So please feel free to visit those project websites again. So thank you all again, and we look forward to constructing these projects in the next coming months. And they're going to be great and a good improvement for our downtown. So everyone have a great day.